Hey, listen up. Yeah, we here and we locked in. Let's keep it going all the way to the top 10. We fear the turtles, so it's no other option. Fred and Ryan, just watch them. Let's take it to the max. It's the Shell and Tell. They come with all the facts. It's the Shell and Tell. Let's take it to the max. It's the Shell and Tell. They come with all the facts. It's the Shell and Tell.
What's up, Terp fans? Fred, Ryan, and Ahmed back for another edition of the ShellnTell podcast. It's Thursday, October 20th, and we got a lot to cover on this week's show. Collectively, I think our hearts stopped as Terps fan this week with QB1 going down, but no fear. Billy the Kid steps in to will us to victory by the slimmest of margins in Indiana.
Yeah, it was a very interesting game to watch on so many levels. I'm excited to deep dive into that. And then we also dive into our Survive for 6 as we try to become bowl eligible, still without key pieces until after the bye week.
Yep, and we're going to take a look at Northwestern, who's to watch, names to know, matchups to keep an eye on, and we'll give our predictions for the weekend and give you a recruiting roundup to round up the show.
All right, well, before we start this week's show, today's episode is sponsored by Inside the Black and Gold. Inside the Black and Gold is your trusted source for the latest news and buzz around all Maryland athletics, with deep dives into the recruiting world of our revenue programs. If you're looking for the healthiest Maryland forums on the net, look no further than Inside the Black and Gold. Founder and lead writer Ahmed Ghaffir, formerly of 247 and Sports Illustrated, in my opinion, has been the top Maryland football source for many years now, and with the new site and team of writers, makes IBG arguably the lead source in every program at College Park. Make sure if you're a Maryland sports fan, you have an IBG subscription, and if you are already a subscriber, make sure your friends are as well too. To get a deeper look at IBG recruiting news, be sure to check out Inside the Bag with our man Ahmed and Mason Viner of Young Terps on YouTube as well.
All right, guys, like I said, Terps find a way to sneak out of Indiana with a win, 38-33, despite losing QB1 to a knee injury in the fourth quarter. Backup Billy Edwards comes in and leads a game-winning drive to get the team to now 5-2 on the season, and now one win away from that being bowl eligible in back-to-back seasons.
Yeah, it'll be the first time in almost 10 years that Maryland's done that. I believe it's 2013, 2014 was the last time Maryland went back-to-back bowl games. So might be the obviously the earliest that Maryland's been able to clinch bowl eligibility, possibly since then. But yeah, I mean, last weekend, far from pretty, and I think that everyone would be able to say that. But definitely, gives some confidence at the fact that they were able to kind of pull it out in the end. Obviously, Billy Edwards had to come in and to lead 2 touchdowns in 3 drives. I thought was very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, we are 5-2 looking at a bowl eligibility in the middle of October.
Yeah.
And yet as a Maryland fan, like, it hasn't felt right. It hasn't felt like we're that, like, we should be much happier than where we are right now. But I think that what I realized in this last game was my expectations at some point changed. It has been a long time since the Terps really were able to upset me. There's been many a years where I am sold in, bought in, like, that we're going to win. But when it starts falling apart, I'm just like, of course it does. That's where we are now. That's what it is. Like, I've spent
reality sets in.
Yeah, I've spent many a times in Section 7 just, like, applauding good plays of the opponents and just be like, oh, yeah, that was a really good play, guys. Like, but that's just not where I am right now. Somewhere the expectation changed. I sat angry as hell, like, ready to get into arguments with my wife and kids because of how bad that Indiana game was going. Like, it was just viscerally tearing me apart to see the being behind, and it just has changed. And that's a good thing overall, that we really have changed our expectations that this team can do something great, and it disappoints us even when you win sloppily.
I mean, I agree with that, but I talked last week about these two teams always finding a way to play each other tough every year, it seems. One last year, 38-35 at home, almost the exact same outcome this year, only a difference of 2 points. It just, I don't know what it is about Indiana, but it always comes down to the last possession and who's got the ball. But there's a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot to pull positive from this. Even if you didn't feel great about this win, there is still a lot to pull, because you got to remember, we won a game despite not having a good bit of our core talent out there in this game, right? your projected first round draft pick in Duncan was out of the game. He had personal reasons going on. So your offensive line had to shuffle around guys. You had Glaze at left tackle, Anderson at right tackle, Branch over to right guard, and they had a rotation at center with Deary and Harris. So you got all that moving around on an offensive line. You lose your, QB1. You've got this big question mark in QB2, which we talked about a lot at the beginning of the year. Last year, we felt like we had that security blanket at QB2. This year, we just weren't sure what we had in Billy Edwards.
A lot less proven than Udinski was, yeah.
Exactly. Very, very small sample size of what he's looked like in game action. And then, obviously, in this game, you also don't have your starting cornerback in Jacorian Bennett, who was out due to an injury, suffered, I guess, in the last play of practice on Thursday leading up to the game. You could probably let us know a little bit more about that, Ahmed. I didn't hear anything about it until game day.
Why is it you always need to end practice one play earlier? The Ravens lost two knees in the last 2 plays of practice last year.
Like, have to go down there again.
Take practice 15 minutes shorter, everybody. It's always the last play.
Right.
What I would do is just warm them up and then say, all right, boys, that's it. Hit the showers and just do film study the rest of the day. But I mean, from what I've heard is Jacorian Bennett's injury is he's able to play through it. Kind of might be obvious and, kind of ways to protect him protect him from the upper body injury. But I think, again, like you guys said, obviously he was able to travel with the team last weekend. So I think that there's a chance that he's able to play this weekend. Obviously, Loxley said that both he and Ruben Hippolyte remain game time decisions. But Jacorian is kind of the guy that maybe might be a little bit more progressed along than Ruben so far. But just kind of going back to last weekend, I mean, I think like you guys said, I think the conversation about QB2 and whatnot, I kind of feel like last weekend helped calm some nerves. And I know he was, Billy Edwards was able to come in at the Michigan game and, he was able to lead that touchdown on Maryland's last offensive drive of the game. But I feel like it was this weekend, even though he finished 0 for 3 passing, it was just kind of the poise and just the uncertainty, I guess, just kind of with the situation for him to kind of come in and be able to stabilize and close out the win. I mean, at the time, Maryland was down. I believe it was 20. They were down. So for him to come back and pull that off, granted, Indiana, not the most talented team in the Big Ten this year, but it's still a road win in the Big Ten. And I think if there's anything to hang my head on, just come watching that game, it's kind of watching Billy Edwards and feeling confident that he can get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, but we were down and everything seemed to be going wrong. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong. I mean, I think about just that slant to Rack on like the 10-yard line for a first down that hit him dead in both his hands and he dropped it. Like just anything that could go wrong in that game was happening. It just felt like we were destined to lose. And they can tell the story how they want now, but I don't think anybody on that team thought they were going to win but Billy Edwards until he busted that 33-yard run for a first down. Like that just kind of sparked the whole team. Like, oh, we do still have a game to play. Like it's not over because we lost QB1. Like, and it's just the way it felt, just from the casual observer.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt that way. But at that point, you're just thinking, I don't give a shit what it looks like. I don't give a shit how we get there. Just get us the win, right? This was a game that we absolutely had to have. If you want to be bowl eligible, these are the games that you have to win. You have to figure out a way to win it. Now that the game is over, now you have to kind of like look at what Billy Edwards means for the future, right? Because teams are going to be able to see what he can do on the ground now, right? And teams are going to be game planning around a more mobile style quarterback offense. So he's also got to be able to prove that he can throw the ball through the air. In this game, very small sample size, he was 0 for 3 through the air. Like we all talked about what he was able to do on the ground. But if he's going to be in place and if Leah can't start this coming week, can he do enough to wheel the team through the air and get us to a victory?
He looked pretty good in Charlotte in that run that he had. He had some good plays there. He had the touchdown pass in that game. So, I mean, it's not like he hasn't done it against, of course, it's very different competition than the Big Ten. But it was a good warm-up. And we talked before this game that, like, it was surprising how many times we had seen him, but it could pay dividends. And even though the passing wasn't there, I think it did pay dividends for him to be in front of 110,000 people in Michigan, like Ahmed said. Like, it did not mean that this Indiana, stadium was too big for him. Like he had already been in it, not at the same situation, but he had been exposed to what the Big Ten is, and he was ready for it. He stepped up and took it. As far as the game time decisions that we were talking about with Ruben and Jacorian. I don't know how you guys would play it, but I just want to put my 2 cents out there. These guys shouldn't be on the field, but they should be available because you need this 6th win. This is a game. So I kind of look at this as what like the Saints did last week, where they brought back their quarterback in a backup position, emergency role. I would have Ruben and Jacorian dressed and on a bench somewhere. And you're only coming in if we have a dire necessity need. Like, that's just the way I look at it. I want to get your guys' takes on that.
I think you're absolutely right. They did that 2 weeks ago with Ruben against Purdue. Like we talked about, they used him really only in like short yardage and red zone situations. I understand what you're saying. Maybe not even do that in this game. Only use them in absolute emergency situations, or if you get to a point where you have to make a stop because you need it to win a game type of thing, then you put these guys in. I get that. And I think it would bode well for this team because this is, again, a game against Northwestern. We'll talk about it, but it's a game that we should win on paper. We should win even without those guys. But I think having that insurance policy of having them dressed makes a lot of sense.
Would be nice to have them dressed because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. This isn't
right. And I think that's fair. I mean, I think I'm just kind of worried about the depth in the secondary, and that's kind of why I think that a guy like Jacorian, and especially if let's say he is that emergency guy and he has to go in the fourth quarter, he's not fresh, he is fresh, but he's not like warmed up and in rhythm with the game, and that's kind of the only thing that maybe I have concern about from that regard. But I mean I get it. Just kind of going into the bye, you kind of want to be a little bit extra cautious. And I think that Loxley's kind of he's talked about it. Just these guys kind of going through warm ups, and they're very like tactical and calculated with how how much these guys are gonna be able to play and things like that. The only thing I worry about with Ruben, kind of playing through it, if maybe he's not very close to 100%, 75, whatnot, is that he's kind of that linebacker where Maryland's able to obviously they have Jay Sean now, but that explosive linebacker that has the athleticism that can cover well in space, has the athleticism to cover downfield if need be. Now I don't expect to see a ton of that against Northwestern. And I think the fact that maybe Jay Sean can kind of fill that role, if need be, that kind of helps. But just kind of worried about Ruben re-aggravating it essentially.
And clearly that's what happened because they used him in red zone opportunities in the one game and they didn't use him at all the next. So it had to get worse. There's no reason to not.
Right.
That they don't tell us anything about injuries, but if you play 6 snaps and then 0, it got worse.
Yes and no. I mean, if you think about it, right, if they're looking at the schedule the same way that we're looking at the schedule, they probably saw Indiana and Northwestern as winnable games. Purdue was that like, hey, if we're going to get to 7 wins or if we're going to get to 8 wins, like we need this game. So we'll use them in certain situations if the game dictates it and we can get to that point where we can secure the bag, you know what I mean? Secure the win. And they like I said, they probably just with Indiana assumed that they weren't going to be in a position where it would be this tight.
We were so deep into that secondary. When we had one of the safeties go down, I was like, what the hell is going on? I guess Isaiah Hazel's the only safety we have left on record. Like, it was just kind of shaking my head. Like, how many bodies do we have left?
Yeah. But I think also, kind of Ruben, kind of playing, playing 1 week and then not playing last week, obviously against Indiana. One distinction is also just home game versus away game. Home game, you not worried about travel. You're just going, from your apartment to the dorm night before, and then you're able to prepare. Travel. You're only able to travel so many players. There's obviously just the process of traveling and just.
It's a good point.
Yeah, so that's one distinction, and I think that did kind of play a hand into, you're allotting, let's say Ruben for that one of X amount of spots, and he gets up there, he's 50-50, and then he can't give it a go. Well, you weren't able to bring someone else like maybe obviously different position, but like TJ Butler or Bam Booker, a guy like that can maybe possibly fill in that regard. So I think that's one distinction, but so that's why I'm a little bit more optimistic that we'll see Ruben this week. And again, I think even if we do see him, definitely won't be, like starting playing 20, 30 snaps. Like I think
very limited role.
Yeah. I mean, what I'd heard, like when he first came back from the injury, like I expected it to be, he's kind of eased in and whatnot, but I mean, I've heard he's been dealing with a significant amount of pain. Obviously, Loxley ended up revealing it was a high ankle sprain today, and those kinds of things that just kind of take time. So that's kind of why I think
he shouldn't have been back till next week.
And
with a high ankle sprain.
Exactly. Even if he plays a little bit, he'll have an extra week to kind of recover, and I expect Maryland to get a lot healthier after the bye week.
That'd be great.
Well, sticking with Indiana real quick, another player in this game that had a huge game, our player of the game offensively, Roman Hemby. It just continues to stack game after game. 17 carries for 107 yards, 1 touchdown. Also had 4 catches for 25 yards in this game. Has the second most yards from scrimmage of any freshman in the country right now with 727. The leader at Ole Miss has 778, but that was on 21 more touches, so he's got a little bit more action involved.
Yeah, a little less competition in that backfield to get those touches.
Right. Well, so this is such a good thing. This, I'll be honest with you, like at this point of the year, the running unit, like I understood that these were a bunch of guys with talent, but we just didn't know what we had in them. They have been a very pleasant surprise. And in the situation that we're in right now, if Leah is going to miss any time, we need to be relying on these guys. And it gives me a little bit more comfort knowing what kind of talent we have at running back right now.
Yeah, I'd like to see that like Navy triple wishbone, put Littleton and Hemby in the backfield with Edwards, and it's like, where are you going to go? We're running to every side. Find where the ball went.
Right. Billy could probably run that kind of an offense really well too.
He could. Yeah, and I actually when I wrote because Hemby was also named to the Athletics freshman All-American team for the midseason.
I saw
list.
that.
Nice. And I was just writing about it and kind of looking up the stats and whatnot. And I didn't realize he's doing very well among the freshmen.
Yeah.
He's obviously, like you said, sitting second most yards from scrimmage of any FBS freshman, was the first running back in 25 years to have 150 rushing yards, 50 receiving yards in the same game, 5th in the Big Ten in yards per carry. I mean, I think that especially this week against Northwestern, a guy like that is who you kind of want to lean on. But yeah, I mean, the rushing attack has been in my eyes, has been the biggest surprise, or maybe most pleasant surprise so far this year. Hemby has more than done enough to make a name for himself.
It's like we were just like either just completely over our heads about our predictions or what it was, but we looked at this season and saw this offensive line is going to be dominant. We're bringing everybody back. The offensive line's been good, don't get me wrong, but they haven't been what we thought they would be.
Yeah.
Talia, we thought it was going to be like a world record-setting year.
Yeah. We thought he'd throw for 4,000 yards.
Yeah, it's not what we thought it was going to be. The wide receivers, Copeland's better than we thought he was going to be, maybe, and yet the group together still is not what we thought it was going to be.
Hold on. To that point, real quick, do you know who the leading receiver is on this team if I asked you without looking it up?
Deitches.
I was going to say, I can't answer that because I know the answer.
Corey Deitches with 25 catches, 346 yards. Now, I'm not trying to like downplay on the wide receivers.
Multiple times this year.
It has. It's changed a lot this year.
Deshaun Jones for a long time.
Right.
It'll be Hemby at some point.
I think we have 5 guys over 20 catches right now. So, I mean, it just goes to show that this offense in Leah has just been spreading the ball around. But you thought there'd be that one guy, 1 or 2 guys that really just stood out of the pack over top of everybody. But it hasn't been that way.
And we just thought also each game there would be one guy. But each game there's just a bunch of dudes that did okay. Which is good on Thalia's part, but still the yards have been great. Of course, I'm not downplaying. I mean, he's still set the record for the most 300-yard pass, but it's not what we thought. But what is greater than we thought, like you said, is this running back core. We were like, is the running back core going to have enough to support this passing game? They're so much better than we thought they were going to be. Like light years ahead of where we thought we were going to be. Even get down at Littleton's better, Hemby's better. McDonald's still doing fine when he gets his touches. He just can't get on there with how good they are. Roman, Brown is looking good when he gets his touches. There is depth and youth just all over the place. It scares me to get to the offseason because somebody's not going to stay. And I don't.
You're such a worrywart.
I don't want any of them to leave. There's so many people that are so close in age and so good.
You don't know that that's also going to happen. I mean, we've had running back by committee with very good running backs, all of which had
NFL put them all in the
shots.
league.
And exactly, put them all in the league. So we could see that type of path happen with these guys too. I mean, I know it's a little easier now than it was before, but I listen, I think that this is going to be, again, in this Northwestern game coming up, which we'll talk about, and moving forward, if Leah's not going to be available, the shoulders of the running backs are going to get real heavy. And it's nice to know you've got 3 or even 4 options that you can rotate. McDonald, like you said, is probably going to get a little bit more carry. Ramon Brown, he's going to get a little bit more carry, and they're going to need to do that to move the chains, I think, with Billy Edwards at quarterback.
Yeah, let's not expose our QB in these QB sneak type situation stuff either, because we're back to Nigerian at this point, which I love me some Nigerian. He did well the one time, but look, we're already getting lucky getting this deep in the QB room. Let's keep this man healthy.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of the the perfect recipe for Maryland kind of going into this week. I think Billy capable, and like I said before, I think all we really need from him is to see a game manager. I think the receiving, the passing attack can do enough, but the big plays from the running game. I mean, we've had three different running backs now run for 100 yards in a game multiple times. I think Hemby's done it 3 times this year. So yeah, it just feels like at the end of the day, just run the ball and pound it down their throats, and then just RPO, and then
Yeah.
that should be the recipe. I mean, it's pretty evident to me. And you don't really see a Northwestern defense like this that kind of struggles, but I think Maryland does match up on both sides of the ball very well.
In this
So
Indiana game, I do want to give Fred a tip of the hat, because it was a bold call. It was a bold call. We ended up having 9 receivers with catch in this game, and his call was Demas with 2 touchdowns. Demas does find the end zone once, and he would
Almost
have gotten
twice.
that second touchdown if he wasn't absolutely mugged on
Yeah.
another non-call bullshit refs hate us moment in the game. Bro, I'm just giving Fred credit. Demas had 2 touchdowns in that game, and that was one hell of a call.
Yeah, well, everybody finds blind squirrel finds a nut every now and again, right? So, I think the more pleasant surprise for me. We talk about pleasant surprise. We talked about the running backs and whatnot, and we talked about like how the receivers there hasn't been that 1 or 2 guys that have stood out of the crowd. But one guy who's unexpectedly played really good, especially in the passing game this year, which to me wasn't expected this season.
Another one we were wrong about.
Yep. CJ Dupree gets his second touchdown on the year. And a play he apparently called. He said, listen, if they come in on you, I'm going to be out in the flat wide open. And apparently it worked, because he obviously made another big play for a touchdown. And it's just continues week after week. He gets a little bit more confident, a little bit more involved in the game. And they were even talking about him on the actual audio broadcast. They were saying that he's got that prototypical NFL tight end body, and he's got that prototypical NFL game. He's starting to see it round out, because for a while there, all he was a blocker. And
this is what he needed to climb draft boards, because he was already there on the blocking. He was already a top level executor when it came to that. So to see him get this kind of, not only the hands, because he could have been a guy that caught the ball and fell over for 10 yards and still made the league with as good a blocking as, but the athleticism that he's shown in the open field afterwards. We talked about it, how it was a liability to have him only be able to do one. He's proven us wrong. He is definitely taken a leap in that department.
Yeah, I think the soft hands have been on full display, and obviously just kind of putting him in the open field. I think he has 2 hurdles this year so far.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been pretty impressive. And I think it's kind of, I think we all kind of knew what Corey Dyches was capable of, but I think we maybe expected to see a little bit more Weston Wolf. But I mean, CJ Dupree has done a really good job, and kind of has been able to be that primary tight end opposite of Dyches really since the spring, and I feel like he's kind of proven exactly that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, on the other side of things, I hate bringing this up because I feel like it's a weekly conversation. We talk about it every week, but it still hasn't gotten better. The penalties continuing to be a big issue. 9 for 94 yards. Now, listen, I understand
50-50 problem, Fred.
I
the
get
50-50
it.
problem.
I get it. I understand the refs aren't doing us any favors here. Some of these penalties are not our fault in
We're
any kind of
breathing
way.
on people, and they are molesting Demas in an end zone by himself.
I know. I get it. But at the end of the day, you kind of control what you can control. The self-inflicted problems, you can't have it. Defensively, it's allowed for extended drives and teams to stay in games that they shouldn't be in. So it's got to get cleaned up. And I just don't understand how they can do such a good job in that Michigan game and then take 5 steps backwards. And granted, I know the refs were keeping their flags in their pocket in that Michigan game on both sides. I understand that, but
and it was so fun to watch.
It was. But 9 penalties, man. It's got to get cleaned up.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a consistent issue, and it's pretty wild that the Michigan game, looking back, that they only had 1. It kind of feels like, what the hell happened that day? So yeah, and you know what, the penalties have been the biggest on-field issue under
100%.
the Loxley era.
And I'm not out
it's
here
been consistent.
I'm not out here letting the Terps off the hook. Like, there were some bad ones. There was the 3rd and 4 for Billy Edwards on his first drive. You get a false start, make it 3rd and 9, and just like completely crush any hope of him getting going on that first drive. There was the on our goal line, we left 10 people out there, which, by the way, is the dumbest penalty in the history of time. Always when you don't have enough people to defend the other team and when you get a penalty, like, I gave them an advantage. But anyway, that one was actually offsides because they were running the 11th man on, so that's fine. But to have 10 and get a penalty has always bothered me in football. But these are coaching problems on the transition, I guess, or are they player problems? It's got to be figured out, that one. The false starts are clearly the offensive line issue. That's been a thing that they have to fix. But it's these other ones. It's the pass interferences. Can we talk about the punt? My God, has anyone ever seen a penalty on a punt give the ball back to the offense that wasn't roughing the kicker? It's the only thing in the world that gives the ball back to the offense is roughing the kicker. Yep. I've been watching football for 30 years. I put out a tweet, anyone, show me anything, and everyone's like, never seen that in my life. People that weren't even Maryland fans, never seen that in my life, not in any level of football. Like, that, where did that come from?
I was so confused when that happened. So confused when that happened. Because like you said, I did not know that was a thing. But I guess that happened because it happened before the punt went off. I think that was the rationale.
That was their bullshit rationale, but I guess that somehow makes it like pass interference kind of, because you could have been doing a fake punt. But like, come on, what are you talking about? And then also, again, it's one of those calls, just like the interception where they called the ball back and gave the ball back to the offense, where without going to review, you take the slimmest chance thing. Like, that interception happened before, or the personal foul happened before the interception, even though the personal foul happened after the ball went over his head. How do you know that in that millisecond?
Right.
The punt takes 3 seconds. How do you know that hold was in that 3-second window? Like, it's unbelievable. Now, if you can go to review and decide that and hand it back, if that's really part of the rule book, sure. But there's a reason you never see it, because how can you even determine? How can you see the hold, look over the foot, and see whether the ball is in the air? That's insane. It's insane. So call the penalty, back us up to the 5-yard line, and have it be our ball. I'm cool. Like, I'm still going to be like, damn, what a penalty. But, like, how do you change a game like that? The refs are controlling games. Games.
That one and the Tarheeb Still pass interference call, I think, were the two that stood out to me the most in this game. He never even made physical contact with the guy at all.
No,
and
he
the
said
guy,
your
the
mother
referee,
to him, and that was a pass interference, apparently.
I don't understand. The referee that threw the flag was completely shielded by the wide receiver, so there was no way he could have seen any contact behind him. He just assumed, he's too close to him, let me throw the flag. It made no fucking sense. It pissed me off, because I'm all for, like, hey, if there's contact and the cornerback didn't get his head around, whatever, throw the flag. That's textbook pass interference. He never touched him. Like, nowhere near him.
You weren't allowed to stand right there, Fred.
Yeah, right. You're too close.
What I just don't understand is how that gets called on Still, and then the demis that third down.
He's completely hugging him and tearing him to the ground by both hands.
Exactly.
It's just a lack of consistency, honestly. That just kind of it's kind of a tough pill for me to swallow.
But the good news is we have the third sideline being installed in the stadium. After everyone's seen my tweet out there, we have the new sideline for the refs. So hopefully they'll be on our team now. We gave them a new house to live in.
Right. Each week, you got to play against two teams. It's just the way
crazy.
It is. Got to learn to deal with it. It is what it is. So on the defensive side of the ball, I think the highlight for me, not only in this game, but man, it's been this year, has the team's been able to get some turnovers this year, right? 2 interceptions at the beginning of each half in this game between Still and Banks in this game. You also had the fumble recovery by Mo Kite. 3 turnovers. Now, this is back-to-back weeks with 3 turnovers. It's good sign for things to come with this defense.
Yeah, it's been super impressive. I mean, the first couple weeks of the season, especially against those first 2, we brought up the lack of turnovers and then lack of sacks. I think they had 4 against Buffalo and then 1 against Charlotte. But those were kind of 2 things that it was a concern that Maryland wasn't doing against inferior opponents. And then, like you said, last couple of weeks being able to reel off back-to-back weeks of 3 turnovers, I thought was very impressive. And to kind of see flashes in the pass rush and off the edge generate pressure. Thought that was good. And then, didn't expect it to be the was it the first it was the first interception of the season for both Tar Heap Still and Deontay
Yeah.
Banks.
Yeah.
So not sure that I expected that, but definitely encouraging to see.
Yeah, I would
For sure.
celebrate real hard on that Banks interception. I was like, "Oh my god, he can
He
catch!
finally caught
Holy
it.
god, he has hands!"
I said the same thing. That's funny.
So he's had multiple just hit him right down in the hands and fall to the ground this year. So I was like, good.
Well, you mentioned sacks also being a point of emphasis this year, right? Well, right now you got 11 different players who recorded a sack this year, which is good enough for third in the country. Jayshawn Barham, as you mentioned, he was named a freshman All-American. It leads the team with 3 sacks. It was named to the mid-season freshman All-American team. Barham, Hemby, now both freshmen on both sides of the ball, dominating. I mean, we all kind of expected Barham to come in and be impactful, but I think he's played a little bit above in his first year, even what I expected from him.
I mean, he's all over the field.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. It was after the Purdue game. Darrell Chami got asked, and he was like, "Yeah, I knew he was going to be good when he came in here. He came in here. He was big as hell." So I thought that was just kind of funny. I mean,
Big as
you know,
hell.
he kind of he just puts his head down and works, and it does it very well, very quiet, very reserved. But yeah, I mean, he's explosive, and I think the praise that he drew out of high school going into the season, he's lived up to it in my eyes. He's definitely the next building block on this defense.
Yeah, again, another thing we were wrong about. Like, this defense has played much better than we gave it credit for.
Yeah.
We truly thought we were going to be in shootouts because our defense just didn't quite have the pieces. And again, after the non-conference schedule, we thought maybe we were right. Maybe that's the way it was going to go, but they turned a switch. A lot of their young players are playing a lot, so it makes sense why they've been able to grow into this position. But yeah, they have been head and heels over what I thought they were going to be. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to pay them off with some surprise wins that they've given us abilities to be in. But I think if they just keep playing the way they are, this will still be one hell of a season.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the rush defense, that's another thing that's been a pleasant surprise. They had they allowed 13 to Purdue and 36 to Indiana. Isn't that what you were saying, Ryan?
Yeah, it's no yards at all.
Unreal.
Yeah, no, it's been good, and I think the front seven, especially the defensive line, they needed something out of Darrell Chami. So I don't think it's a surprise that last 2 weeks, especially against Purdue, I think he had 2 sacks, but
Yep.
forced fumble as well. I don't think it's a coincidence that they've kind of seen an uptick in production when Chami's able to produce.
Yeah, they said it was second best in the FBS, but for some reason they only did it in like 3 game series. So that included the Michigan State game that we allowed almost 150 yards. So if we have another good game into this, we will definitely not be in second anymore.
Well, it shows a marked improvement. I mean, we had obviously struggles against Michigan against the run, struggles against Michigan State against the run, but these last 2 weeks, it seems like we've figured it out defensively, especially up front. So that's a good sign. Again, you're creating turnovers, you're eliminating one asset of the offense by stopping the run. That bodes well, especially as the schedule gets tougher here towards the end of the year.
And exactly. And Michigan, obviously, I mean, they did a great job establishing the run. But they ran for over 400 yards on Penn State last weekend.
Exactly. So it wasn't a us thing. They're just very good at running the ball.
Yeah, exactly. They're two very good backs.
Before we move out the defense, big shout out to McCullough. He has been so much better than we thought he would be in replace of wow, my man Ruben Hippolyte. And I believe he was the one that forced that fumble that Mokite got as well. Another big moment for him. But he's been high up there on the tackle list, been all over the field. Much better replacement level player than we ever thought we were getting out of him. So hats off to him. It's been wonderful to see.
Yeah, he's been a pretty reliable piece as an inside backer. I think just maybe moving inside kind of helped get acclimated a little bit, get settled in, and it's obviously kind of bringing out his best traits. So yeah, he's been a very good piece in the rotation.
On the special team side of things, I think we thought it was just going to be a Chad Ryland conversation every week when we talked about special teams. We just assumed it would be that way.
It felt like he was never going to miss.
Yeah.
It just really felt like it was never going to happen. As soon as he started missing, it's been like, okay, he's human. I mean, there's been no bad misses, but he's human now.
Yeah. 2 of them are from 50 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just crazy, the stark improvement from last year. Because last year, I mean, that's all we did was harp on special teams with just how bad they were in pretty much every facet, right? But Chad Ryland obviously changes it in the kicking game. But I think more importantly, we found our kick returner of the future. Freshman Octavian Smith, man, he looks great back there. Another good game, 4 returns for 120 yards, including a 54-yarder, averaging 30 yards a return in this game. Leads is it the Big Ten in average right now, Ahmed, I
Big
think?
10, Big 10.
Big
Yeah,
10.
that's pretty freaking impressive, man, for a
Yeah.
freshman.
Yeah, and Tarheeb still leads the Big Ten in punt returns too. No,
That's
I
great.
don't think I expected either. But yeah, I mean, it
From
just
what
feels
we had last year.
Right. It
yeah,
all turned at that Pinstripe Bowl. It all changed.
it did. It did. It
That's
did.
one, Ryan.
And
That's fun.
I think yeah, obviously Ryland being able to kick the ball further on kickoffs kind of helps, the
Yeah.
coverage units and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, special teams has really looked good. Outside linebacker coach, special teams coach, James Thomas Jr. doing a heck of a job in his year 1 as position coach there. But yeah, I mean, Octavian feels like he's probably had 3-4 returns so far this year, where you kind of watch him get to the 30, 35, and you're like, holy shit, you got a full head
One
of
guy.
steam, and
One guy to
you-
beat,
you
man.
got
It's
it.
been
You got
multiple
it.
times where that you don't usually see somebody get a
Yeah.
50-yard return or a 40-yard return. You see them get 10 to 20 or 100.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
been very unlucky getting these last saving tackles.
I was gonna say, even the week before that, I think he had a 45 or something.
45, yeah. And I was
Yeah.
like, how does somebody catch you at that point? You've
Yeah.
already ran past him once.
And you know what? It's a great call by Ahmed, because even before the season start, Ahmed said, hey, listen, this is a guy that more than likely is going to burn his red shirt, and for good reason. At the time, I questioned it. I thought, man, they're so deep
so
at wide
deep.
receiver. Why would they need it? But forget what he's brought as a receiver, just in what he brings in special teams as a returner, just to have that threat and to have some actual hands back there that hangs on to the ball. Is a huge improvement. So it's been well worth him burning his red shirt this year.
In a similar point, I mean, not that Rakim Jarrett needs anything else to be praised on, because he is a very good receiver. Maybe not what we thought he was going to be this year, but one of the best gunners on punt return I have ever seen. This guy is on the coverage in a flash, and if he gets his fingers on you, you're not getting rid of him. He's made some absolute helicopter type tackles on coverage units, and it's been really impressive to watch.
For sure. All right, so sticking with special teams, though, we do have to give credit to the punters as well, because both punters in this game, Colton Spangler and Ant Pecorella, both had good days. Spangler with 3 punts for 120 yards. He had the one inside the 20. Peck with 2 punts, both inside the 20, including one down on the 1-yard line. Love to see Peck finally getting a chance of getting an opportunity out there, and him to thrive in what he is. That's basically his specialty, getting guys down inside the 20, being that accurate punter. And we saw that on display in this game.
Yeah, he basically rolled that ball to a stop on the 1, and I was really nervous on the down on that one. The player kind of stepped backwards with the ball. I don't know if you caught that, but I was like, oh my, it felt very last year. It felt very much like I stood inside the end zone and picked the ball up. So luckily he was 6 inches far enough forward that didn't happen. But yeah, there was some PTSD from the 2021 season creeping up. Because I was like, no, why did the ball knock you over? Don't step backwards.
Yeah, man. It's again, it's crazy to see how much improvement this unit has had this year, and you can see the effect that it has on this team, just in flipping the field and giving the defense, better field position to start with, the whole 9 yards. They've just been a very, very good unit and a fun unit to watch this year.
That was a huge moment to pin them into one. That's when we
100%.
took our first lead late with Billy Edwards at quarterback, or not right before we took our first lead. It was when we had to turn over because the false start on the 3rd and 9. And it was just a huge moment to pin them back, got the ball back, quickly scored, and defense took care of their job with the turnover. Everything turned in that moment. Like, that punt was like the beginning of why we won.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's shift gears, man. Let's look at Northwestern. I know we talked a little bit about it already, but let's dive into this game a little bit deeper. Northwestern right now comes in at 1-5 overall, 1-2 in the conference, with a win coming over Nebraska early on in the year. Right now, Vegas has Maryland favored by 13.5. Now, I'm curious if that is with them thinking Leah is going to be quarterbacking, or if Billy Edwards is going to be quarterbacking. Over under set at 52.5 right now. You always put the implied score of around 33-20 in this game. I like 13.5, even with Billy Edwards at the quarterback. I think we can win this game by 2 touchdowns or more. So I'm actually taking Maryland with this and the points. giving
I
the
hope
points.
I hope you're right.
I
I
do.
think it will probably be closer than that, but just because the ball is going to be on the ground, so I don't think the clock's going to run. We're going to run out of time to score more points. I do think we'll win handedly, but we'll see. We'll get into the reasons why.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think Maryland with the points, and then probably the under. I think that probably good parlay if we're going to do betting. But
Hey,
yeah,
we tried that parlay against Charlotte. It almost hit, and it was going to pay real well.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, so we'll dive in.
Yeah, so I know they've got some questions at quarterback. Last week they had two of their quarterbacks play. I don't know if Helinski went down with an injury. What was the situation there?
I think they were
Did
just
they
getting
just
their ass kicked.
and that's what it was? I mean, it was bad. It was what,
Yeah.
42-7 or something like
Yeah,
that?
it was I think 41-7. Yeah, it's pretty wild to think that they got the week 1 win in Dublin, and it's been just downhill since
They're
then.
just not good in America.
No.
Just not-
Yeah.
They did hang kind of close with Penn State 17-7, which makes me feel even better about our chances against Penn State. And the loss that Penn State just had to Michigan, where they got absolutely shelled. I mean, they should have been blown out in that game, even worse in the first half. I don't know how the fuck they stayed in it in the first half of that game. I don't know if you watched it or not, but they still got shellacked by Michigan. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent.
Yeah, we got to win this one before I feel
We
good
gotta win
about
this
that.
one.
But yes, after we win this game by over 13.5, me and you can have that conversation here that I'll feel a lot better about going into Penn State.
For sure. For sure. All right. So what are you guys expecting in this game? Is there anybody, is there that one guy? There's always seems to be that one guy that we need to worry about. Any names that we need to be aware of in this game?
Well, the biggest name's got to be Evan Hall. I mean, Evan Hall is their running back. He leads them in rushing clearly as their running back. He also leads the team in receiving. He had an absolutely insane game against Duke with 213 receiving yards as well as 65 yards on the ground. So that's basically why he leads the team in receiving, is from one game versus Duke. But Evan Hall, 5'11", 210 pounds. He's number 26 for your playbooks. And he looks like a real deal. The only talent, the number one talent that I would be worried about beating us.
Yeah, Evan Hall is definitely the primary guy to know for Northwestern. And I think it kind of starts with him being able to just kind of limit his overall production. I did think it was kind of wild that Northwestern, they actually have the fourth best passing attack in the Big Ten. Not something that I expected kind of going into this matchup. But yeah, I mean, statistically, they're kind of in the bottom 4, bottom 3 of every category: scoring, yards, rushing. So it's has not been a good season. So I think if you're kind of able to limit that production, then you're on a good path so far.
If they have the fourth best passing attack in the Big Ten, that speaks badly about the Big Ten and the rest of the competition as far as passing goes. Because I mean, this guy, Helinski's 141 for 244, 57.8% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, little over 1,500 yards. I don't know. Nothing seems real impressive about that to me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's they have two. Evan Hull's one of 2 players for him that has over 30 catches. Malik Washington, he's the other guy. He's got 34 catches for 36 yards. But both Washington and Hull, they only have 1 receiving touchdown this year. But yeah, I think it is pretty wild. I definitely wasn't, when I was just kind of looking at the stats last week, I didn't expect. And it was only looking it up, roughly 18 yards more Maryland throws through the air per game than compared to Western. So I definitely wasn't expecting that.
It's one of those artificial stats too, because they've been down every minute of every game, so they have to throw the ball. It's kind of like last year when our rush defense looked good because everyone could throw against us. They never bothered running the ball. So it's I hope that's what it is. But I mean, you just look at the scores. I mean, they lost every game. They've lost every game handily outside of the Duke game, and even that Duke's 31-23. I don't even know who SIU is. They got their butt kicked 31-24. Miami of Ohio kicked their butt, or not even kicked their butt, but 17 versus 14 against Miami of Ohio.
Those games are at home.
Yeah.
Right.
They can only win in Dublin. So unless we're moving this from College Park to Dublin, we're going to be okay.
But again, it hate to say it, and I hate to sound so cliche, but it goes back to to use Loxy's quote, Terps versus Terps, and that's why it's not really coach speak,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it's really all about execution. And when you're
It's the
committing these
reason we
kinds of
lost to
penalties,
Purdue. We did not do Terps versus Terps. We did
and
not take
and
care of our business. They,
and
they
it's the
didn't.
reason
They did not beat us.
reason why last week was close. I mean, it really shouldn't have been, even with all those guys out. Maryland still is more talented than Indiana. So again, if these miscues and if these unforced error, I mean, you're 3rd and 4 at midfield, and then get a false start, 3rd and 9 at your own 45, and I mean, those are the kinds of things that they just change the game, and has no impact on how good Northwestern's doing or what they're scheming. So I think this is kind of an opportunity. If Maryland can play a clean game, they could probably wrap this up by halftime.
So you mentioned they brought in the quarterback because they're getting their butt kicked, but they brought in this quarterback, Brendan Sullivan. He's a sophomore QB, a year younger than Helinski. He came into this Wisconsin game 11 for 17, not great, but still better than the percentage of the guy in front of him. For 114 yards and then 10 rushes on the ground for 33. Not great, but at least he's running the ball, because Helinski is basically a statue that we can tee off on. Does it scare you at all that there might be a quarterback controversy, especially coming out of a bye week, that we might not know who we're playing, that they may have to have been practicing for both
the
these
other
guys?
thing you have to take into consideration there too is a 42-7 blowout win. Who did Wisconsin really have out there defending too? You know what I mean? That's the other thing that you have to. Did they have the twos?
I'm not gonna lie to you and say I watched this really boring game. 42-7. That was not part of my research here.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there is.
Yeah, I don't think so.
The pessimist is over here scared.
No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be, Helinski's going to be the guy that gets out there. And again, I think Maryland kind of matches up well. So not too concerned about it.
Well, again, if their main guy is a running back that we have to worry about in Evan Hall, and the way our run defense has played as of late over the last couple of games, I like the way that we stack up. The biggest question mark is going to be obviously the health of Talia. Does he play this week or not? Because coaches talked about him being a game time decision, which if they said he was a game time decision and he wasn't out there practicing, I would automatically assume that he's not playing and that this is just what they're going to do. This is what they do every week. They're just going to say that it's, game time decision when he's really not playing. But he was out there actually throwing passes, and he was out there practicing a little bit with the team this year. Do you have a feeling any which way, Ahmed, whether he's going to play this week?
Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid. Okay.
I mean, and
that's the way it should be in my opinion.
100%.
You got the bye week next week. You need as much rest time. Give him the rest time. This is going to be the weakest opponent that we play in the Big Ten. Why not?
Yep. Go ahead, Ryan.
I just think with Billy the Kid, if I'm Locks, I'm trying to show as little tape as possible. We've already got more out than we probably wanted to. Locks probably wants to go back in time and take away the time he let him play against Charlotte. Take away the time he let him play against Michigan.
Yeah.
Because there is a little bit of tape now on this guy. But if I was them, I would try to win this game 100% on the ground. I'm not saying Billy Edwards cannot throw the ball. I think he can. I think that he showed in Charlotte. But I don't want Penn State having any look at this kid in case he is the dude 2 weeks from now in Penn State. I don't want him having nothing. I want to come out there, let him run a full offense against Penn State for the first time ever, and have their heads spinning for 2 quarters. So if it's me, I'm playing the long game until they prove me I can't. I'm putting all my horses out there, and I'm running the ball every freaking play until they make me throw it.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And kind of, just going back to the, quarterback and kind of, I think everyone can kind of speak, we're on the same page that when we saw the injury, we were expecting probably season ending. And I remember on Sunday just calling around.
We're so used to it. We're used to it.
I mean, just holding the knee like that. And I saw him the week or after the Purdue game. He was noticeably limping. So I kind of figured that, especially he gets a second hit, same leg. I thought he was on in the moment.
It looked bad.
And then Sunday, I called a lot of people. Logan, I'll give him a shout out. Logan Delizio, my guy on the site. He texted me right after the game, probably 30 minutes after kickoff or after the game ended. It was like, I don't think that Leah tore anything. And when I was calling around, it didn't sound like, obviously he didn't end up tearing anything, but everything I heard was kind of in line with just get through this week and then reassess from there. I mean, that's when game time decision becomes true. At the end of the day, Leah's out there. He's able to kind of warm up a little bit, but from everything I've heard, Billy's getting
Yeah, Ruben's been a game time decision for 4 weeks and he's gotten 6 snaps. So like game time decision doesn't mean anything. And
Right.
Locks has said as much in the interviews. Until the rest of the Big Ten coaches say something other than game time decision, I'm gonna tell you it's a game time decision. Like,
but he did also say, I think it was he said it, some version of it today on Thursday, and then he said it earlier in this week. I mean, like guys like Ruben, that's something, at the end of the day, like if he's progressing all week and he's able to practice through the week, and obviously, he'll, if there's things that, are going to potentially re-aggravate it, he'll come out and he'll get treatment and whatnot. At the end of the day, Saturday morning he gets up and, it's just like, getting loose, and how does it feel? Like, are you able to have that mobility? And if he's not, like, those are like Jacorian, like I genuinely view those guys as like true game time decisions. Now there's going to be an ultimate feel, and I've kind of posted on the site, who I expect to play, who I don't, but like Talia, that in my mind is just Locks playing, the coach speak or
Yeah.
whatnot. But I just, I don't know that I want to attribute like all the injuries to like the coach speak or whatnot, because some of them, they genuinely have been, just kind of see how you feel and go from there.
Well, the goal is to not only get bowl eligible this week, but I wanted to look at the remaining portion of the schedule, right? Obviously, if you get this win, you become bowl eligible. You hit that 6th win, right? They got 5 games in total remaining. But I think the real big goal here is how good of a bowl game do you get? Do you just get to that 6th win and get to a bowl? Because you've got Northwestern, like I said, coming up this weekend, Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State, and Rutgers. I said in the beginning of the year, I felt confident we could win that Wisconsin game. At the end of the year, I definitely feel like we can win that Rutgers game. So if we win those 3 games, we're sitting pretty at 8 wins with still a pretty good chance at a Penn State win. At potential, it's crazy to think that there's a potential for a 9-win
when
season.
we already shit the bed against Purdue and almost had one at Michigan.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I'm not just being the crazy optimist here. I'm not usually that guy. That's usually Ryan's role. But looking at the schedule, with Leah not being season ending here, I really think that there is 3 games, maybe 4, that we can win out of these next 5.
There is, but we could win that, and the only one we've ever said we can't win is Ohio State, but we've also never agreed on something like that before. So God knows what's going to happen has wrongly been this year.
Yeah,
that's true. That is very true.
I mean, like, just kind of going forward. I mean, obviously, I look at this weekend. I think Rutgers are kind of the first 2 obvious games that I think Maryland is going to win. Like, I feel very confident in that. And then it's, kind of at Wisconsin, just kind of with it being a road game. I think Penn State's a toss up. I genuinely, I think Maryland matches up well. I don't think Penn State's offense is all that explosive. Logan's heard some things about Penn State and their offense and Clifford, and
it scares me all the time when they take Clifford off the field. Every time I'm like, don't find a quarterback that works. Please stop looking. Please stop looking at the quarterbacks.
And I don't want to make it, like too much Penn State, but like if James Franklin's smart, he's starting Drew Alar. It's like not even close. Who the more talented quarterback is.
I just disagree, just for at least 2 more weeks.
Did you hear him bitching about the tunnel at Michigan now?
Yeah, that was
what a fucking tool bag. God, get control of your fucking players.
Like, also, I stood in that tunnel. It's not that bad.
Right. Like, I should just irritates me.
I actually just saw that video yesterday. It's been kind of interesting. I think I saw a video. He's like 2-13 against teams.
How did you find someone in Ann Arbor to get angry at you? Where were they? Like,
was it not with Harbaugh? I thought it was him and Harbaugh that got into it, but
I don't know if they actually got into it or not, but it was some of the players I know that got into it for sure as they're funneling in. But
I saw Franklin was, he started like yelling or whatnot. I thought maybe I misread it, but I thought that it was him and Harbaugh. I could only just see Franklin.
Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. Both of them are hotheads.
Fire up the rumor mill.
Right.
I fucking hate him.
Dark controversy.
I do want to say the one thing that scares me this weekend is I think that I already talked. They got a really good running back. I mean, when you talk about 31 touches for 278 yards and 2 touchdowns against any FBS team, he's a talent. And then they're also bad at kicking, like historically bad at kicking. They have 2 kickers that have combined for 50% and nothing's been attempted over 39 yards.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be defending this team for 4 downs. So
Yeah.
you have a good running back that you're going to be defending if you let them on your side of the field for 4 downs. You better hope you play in the shadow of your own goalpost, because I don't want to play 4 downs versus that guy.
Yeah, and they're 1-5. They got nothing to lose, so they're going to be pulling all the tricks out.
And we're so good at covering those. Historically
Right.
great at flea flickers. Nobody should run anything but flea flickers versus us.
We'll see what happens, man. Like I said, I feel confident if we do go into this game and it's running back by committee versus their running back. I still like our chance, especially with the way our defense is playing up front right now. The game's at home. I like our chances. I'm underestimating what Billy Edwards can do through the air. I need to see it through an entire game first. And I need to also see what kind of impact he has on the ground when a team knows what to expect with him there. So I'm tempering my expectations a little bit, but I still think the Terps can win this game over the 13.5 that right now that Vegas has given them. I'll go into my prediction first with this game. I think it's a lower scoring game. I think it comes in under the under because the clock is just going to be continually moving in this game. Again, it's going to be on the ground. I think the Terps win this. I've got them winning 24-10.
All right. I think that we will not score quite what we've been scoring. Again, because of the being on the ground, I don't think we're going to stall out as much, because we get behind the chains with these terrible bubble screens that I hope we can erase at some point. I'm so sick of watching them. Randy Edsel ran all the bubble screens that we can have for the next 2 decades. Please check the books. You're over your allotment. Stop throwing them. So I think we'll score 28. And I like your 17. I think there is a world where we don't let up a second touchdown, so it could be like a 15-16, but we could probably let up 17.
I didn't say 17, but okay, we'll go.
Oh, sorry. I heard you wrong then.
I initially wrote down 24-10. I'm going to go 27-10. I just kind of think that, that's kind of thing. I don't really think that Northwestern is going to be able to score too much. I expect Maryland's defense to kind of be able to control the game a little bit. I think that Maryland's offense is going to be able to, like we said, they're going to run the football. I think they're just going to kind of want to establish dominance early and get the clock running and get out of there. I think that's kind of the mindset. So again, it's Terps versus Terps, and it's as cliche as it sounds. It's 110% true. If Maryland can get out of their own way, I said it earlier, but I think this game could be over by halftime. So we shall see.
We shall. So I wanted to give a quick shout out. I know we're going to do a little bit about recruits here. Speaking of quarterback play, man, our quarterback commit Champ Long had a huge day last Friday night. A 7 touchdown performance, 13 of 18 for 217 yards, 4 touchdowns through the air, but 3 on the ground as well, leading his team to a 70-41 win. This is a kid that I think has flown under the radar a lot, and I hope he continues to fly under the radar a lot, because this is a guy that I have a lot of high hopes for when he gets here to College Park. He's got a similar build to Leah, 6'1", 200 pounds, so he's not like a real imposing threat as far as like height and size and all that goes, but I like his game, and like I said, I think he's flying under the radar up there in New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked really good. I think, and I remember over the summer I kind of posted, it was actually shortly after Jamie Kaiser, he decided to get a basketball, because then, at the time Maryland was thinking 2 quarterbacks and Jamie was going to be that second quarterback. And then, Maryland kind of, reevaluated. And Champ, I think one of the big things that kind of always stuck with Maryland staff is that he is as dedicated as they come to, workout and development, off-season program preparation, and I think that this is kind of the evidence of that. Obviously, last season, was his first year starting as a quarterback on the high school scene. So, just kind of this season was going to be, a big question mark, in terms of his overall development. Where he's kind of able to show, and he was kind of inconsistent sometimes early on at camps, and I think he was able to kind of put some string together some better performances at late spring, and then obviously 7-on-7 circuit. He did very well this summer. So I think it's all just kind of a byproduct of him just staying in the lab and being able to just continuously improve. Having said that, last weekend, Paramus Catholic, I think the final score was 70-41, and
Yeah.
uh, it's kind of weird. A couple years ago, you definitely didn't expect to see Paramus Catholic to get steamrolled like that. It used to be a powerhouse, but I mean, Champs doing his thing. So yeah, the praise is definitely well deserved for him.
Any chance that our biggest sales to this man is early playing time, and that Billy Edwards being better than we thought could hurt us in any way, or is he okay with 1 year and then being our dude?
Yeah, I haven't heard any concerns about that. I think he's kind of known, and at the end of the day, he committed. Um, at the time, there was a quarterback. I think it was only Jaden Surrey. Well, AJ Swam is committed, but we don't need to talk
Yeah,
about him. But
imaginary.
yeah.
We
So I
only
think,
had your high
Fuck
school
that
coach on the
guy.
show, and then you went to some other school.
yeah, man. Well,
Douchebag.
he's starting in pretty much every game for him, so good for him. But yeah, so I think Champ kind of recognized that there's older guys ahead of him, and at the end of the day, and something I've just kind of heard, with the quarterback recruiting, a lot of guys just want to be coached by Danny. So he's a really really good coach and guy to one, people just kind of gravitate towards, and then two, he does a very good job kind of breaking down, teaching the game. So that I think that kind of resonates with him.
Last strange question: any chance in hell Leah takes his 6th year because of COVID?
I'm not expecting it. Like, I think that he will end up leaving, but
Sixth
never say
year. He's a
never.
junior, right?
Or
Yeah,
it comes back next year, I guess, is my
Yeah.
question.
yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, I'll never say never. I just think right now, not leaning
Not
that
in the
way.
plans.
Now, if that was a season-ending injury,
That
maybe
was
that answer changes.
that was
Um,
like my
Do
immediate
you
thought when
really
I thought
think
that.
his pro prospect is that high that because I just
The size.
the size one, and two, like the deep ball. He does. I just don't see the zip on the ball. I think he's a very effective college quarterback. I just don't know how he. I don't know how he looks in the pros. I feel like if he's gonna have a pro career right now at this point, he's an undrafted guy. I don't see him being drafted. That's my opinion. I mean,
I
especially this is supposed to be a pretty heavy quarterback class coming up this year too.
Yeah,
A
that
lot of
is true.
talent.
That is true. That is true. I just think that was kind of the expectation. But yeah,
His
I mean,
mindset.
and you know what? This is what NIL was made for.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah. Can we pay him what an undrafted salary is? Let's go, baby.
Right.
got a link on my site you can donate. I can send that over.
I think it comes down to Leah though, man. If Leah knows like his pro prospect is a hot his ceiling is 6th or 7th round, more than likely undrafted, how bad does he want to play in the pros? Like is he okay with just going in the pros with a shot at being a backup quarterback somewhere, for a long time, or does he want to play this last year out in college and like you said, at least make the NIL money that he's making now or whatever deals that he has and come back and potentially make that Heisman run or be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. Right now, he's probably what, third in the Big Ten or second or third in the Big Ten as far as quarterbacks go. But next year, once the guy from Ohio State moves on, he's got a real good chance at being the best quarterback in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
We're starting our sales pitch now. Come back, Leah. We
Come
love
back,
you.
Leah.
Tell us what
Yeah.
the number is. At least float out a number. Just be like, I would probably come back next year if we get 400 grand. All right, I'll start.
5 more
I'll start
Muscle
passing the
commercials.
plate.
Yeah. Well, on the basketball side of things, I know we were waiting on word from a couple of guys. Any updates on basketball?
Queen or
Yeah.
bust.
Yeah, Mohammed Debu, I think I butchered that last name. Apologies.
It's cool.
But,
It doesn't matter. He's not
All
coming
right.
here anymore.
Yeah, not gonna be here.
We don't care what your name is, bro.
He committed to Bama over Maryland. Maryland maybe finished second, if not third. But I think it was runner up. And then the other was Papa Conte, who just announced for Michigan a couple hours ago. Maryland probably finished second for him. Maryland was kind of battling. I was kind of expected to be Michigan and Rutgers kind of at the top for a long, long time. He took an official visit back on July 20th. Grant Billmeyer, the assistant there, Tony Scan. The staff collectively kind of chips in, and obviously Kevin Willard has done a really good job recruiting as well. But Billmeyer was kind of the lead point on that. So obviously with both those guys coming off the board, Mike Nwoko was another guy that Maryland was originally looking at, but he seemingly was interested, and then he scheduled 4 official visits elsewhere, and then he committed to Miami. So the front court's kind of wide open right now, and obviously this weekend they will have a huge visitor on campus with 2024 4-star forward Derek Queen making his way onto campus. Derek Queen, who's currently down at Montverde Academy down in Florida. It's kind of always been that he's a big homebody guy. I think I mentioned it even here on the site, or excuse me, on the podcast and on the site, but got a chance to meet him back in the spring when I did my interview, and just get a pulse, on, how is it adjusting in Florida, and how is it, just kind of being back in the area. And you can definitely tell the hometown feel, and that he gravitates towards that. And that's been something that, when you ask about his recruitment, that is something that very frequently comes up. So I know one question that kind of is overall in his recruitment is whether he's going to say 2023 or I'm sorry, what if he's going to say 2024 or reclass back to 2023. And that's, I think, something that will probably kind of get ironed out. Both sides will kind of talk about it this week and kind of just get on the same page so that Maryland can kind of figure out, all right, you're either going to be a viable target this cycle, or you become our top target in the 2024 cycle. So I think that's going to be a big takeaway. But another development with him was at Kansas. They had believe it was the latest offer for him. So still plenty of time, lots to kind of figure out and unfold. But I talked to
If
his
you
mom.
like it in the DC area, you are not gonna like Kansas, bro.
Yeah,
that is a different world.
Yeah, it is. But money talks, and
Money
I don't think anyone. It's not.
We're not
a secret
outbidding
about Kansas.
Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, they got fucking investigated and brought out strippers 2 months later to their Midnight Madness. I mean, Phil Self, man. I mean, how do you turn down strippers?
Right.
That's the new show title. Cancel it. Not home for sex. How do you turn down strippers?
How do you turn down strippers? That's funny.
Like Scott Van Pelt, they do the whole show, and then whatever the weirdest thing that was said is the show title.
Yeah.
How do you turn down strippers?
It sucks too, man, to see freaking Alabama relevant in basketball again.
Yeah,
right? It was great for them to be like non-existent in basketball. We deal with enough with them in football. I don't need to see them in basketball, but here they are again the last couple of years. Shining bright and getting big names, man.
Nate Oates has done a good job down there.
Yeah.
So,
I hated rooting for Tennessee in that game. Like, it was fun to watch that field rush and everything, but it felt gross.
It was pretty fucking cool to see the
like,
goalposts go out in the city streets, man. That's hilarious.
My best friend went to Tennessee, and I've been down there. It was probably coming up from maybe 8-9 years ago. Amari Cooper was there, and he went off. I think it was 2014 actually. Amari Cooper, I think he has like 10 or 11 catches, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I literally saw flashbacks of me being at a Maryland game, because like midway through the first quarter, Tennessee's down 21-0, and all the Tennessee fans are leaving. So like ever since that day, like I give all the Tennessee fans I know, I give them a ton of shit. But like I don't know, I feel like just kind of seeing. Tennessee was always like, "Are they back? Are they back?" and kind of mocking them. And I don't know. It's I went to the first time I went to a game there was spring break, and it blew my mind. Or not spring break, excuse me, fall break. And there was just no one on campus, but it still blew my mind how loud that stadium was. And I think as soon as I saw just like the checkerboard inside the stadium and all that, I thought, I was just like, holy hell, Tennessee by a million.
So you bring up the checkerboard. You bring up the checkerboard. So these goalposts come down. That happens. Like,
somebody
and then
cut the carpet.
Goalposts. Not somebody. Did you see the photo of her, Fred?
She was a big girl.
It literally looked like my mom. It was like an old woman, overweight, dressed in hippie-looking clothing, peeling the turf off the ground and taking it with her. There is a hunk, like, I mean, literally, like the checkerboard's like 3x3. It's like 3x1.5 missing out of this checker pattern. And it literally looks like my mom doing it.
She has a 1996 eBay account, and she's probably selling it on eBay right now
for one specimen cup at a time from her VA job that she stole the cups from. I can guarantee it. I've lived with the woman.
I was gonna say there's a lot of people in Knoxville that have lived in Knoxville their entire life, and unfortunately, I've met people that have never left Knoxville before. So, Tennessee football hits different for some people, man.
I rushed the field 3 times in Maryland. I'm not gonna lie. I left with grass. I never left with sod. I just took a few leaves with me, bro.
She could have literally replanted that in her front yard, and it would have been fine.
She left with sod.
It was hilarious, but it was cool to see. I love those kind of moments, man. It was good to see Alabama lose. For me, I can't stand Alabama, but to watch
everyone's just sick of the same people all the time. That's all.
Then they released video. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Some players walking off and punches a woman fan in the face or some shit. I guess he's Unreal.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's pretty wild,
yeah.
but one last tidbit that I have just on the football recruiting side, just only because I got a text. Fletcher Westfall, he's a 4-star, 6'8" tackle from 2024 class. He'll be visiting this weekend, and also shout out my little cousin Mason Fondis, long snapper from Sherwood, who got invited out to the Maryland game this weekend. So I am
Nice.
Shout
definitely,
out cuz.
yeah.
There you
So
go. That's
I'm
awesome.
pretty excited to see him in the building on Saturday.
Also,
That's
6'8"
cool.
tackle sounds great too. But
Yeah,
shout out
my ears
cuz.
perked
Yeah.
up. As soon as I heard 6'8" tackle, I was like, yes, sir.
Yeah, needed to get him back on campus, but good to get my little cousin on campus.
I love it. That's awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in as always. We hope for again next show. We hope that we're talking a bowl eligible team for 2 years in a row, back to back. For like you said, Ahmed, for the first time in a long time. And then we're planning out our ways that we're going to get to 7, and then 8, and then 9. I think we could do it. I think we could do it. We'll see. We'll see.
9 left my head after we lost Purdue, but I like you putting it back in there.
I like it, man. I don't know, man. I feel way more confident about the end of this schedule than I ever have at any point in this year. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's not us getting better; it's everyone else getting worse.
That's exactly what it is. 100%. Well, like I said, we appreciate you guys tuning in as always. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. You hit the subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. If you haven't, make sure you're following us on Twitter. You can follow the show at ShellnTell Pod. You can follow Ryan at Terps BSpert. Follow me at Fred BLBS. Follow Ahmed at Kafir the Turtle. And also make sure you're following it at Inside Black and Gold. Ryan, sign us off.
All right, guys, make sure you get out there to Inside Black and Gold. I just finished reading and really enjoyed the flip targets to watch article or on the road there. It's a really good one. Keep your eye on the USC target. It sounds like reading between the lines, that might be our number one guy. Like, won't let anything else out of there, but go read that. It's homecoming, everybody. Get down to College Park. They're calling for a red out. I'm apparently not going to be able to be participating in the red out because I'm now on Halloween duty. So I left like I'll be dressed
got sucked
up
into that mess. I avoided that text.
I know. Fred never responded to the text message.
Nope.
And I never agreed to it, but Kaylee just keeps telling people I'm doing it. So I think eventually I'm just going to have to fold and just be in this Halloween dress up with the girls. We're going to be down there in lot 4B, tailgating, probably get there around 11 a.m. You want to come see us, come see us. Hit up some Shot 30 down there with the boys. It's one of the coolest things at the Maryland tailgates. Every 30 minutes, they give out free shots to anybody that shows up. So come check out 4B, say hi to your boys, get some free drinks, and I can't wait to come back and talk about this 6th win with you guys. Until next time, here's to wishing all is well under the shell.